Well, it says I've gone live. Fingers crossed, everyone. Welcome, everyone, to a Moisty Live political recap stream. Hope you're all having a fantastic Friday or Saturday, depending on where you are in the world. Joining me is, as always, my lovely co-host, Trups LP. Say hello, Trups.
Hello, Trups.
How is Trups?
Trups is nearing the end of his vacation and is sad.
Oh, F in the
I don't
chat for
want to go back to
Trups.
work, but damn it, I have to make money.
F in the chat.
Yeah.
Are you drinking Knob Creek this evening?
I am. I actually just poured a glass before I sat down.
Bastard.
Yeah, well, you should have bought it.
Hey, Amazon double charged me, okay? I have to wait. Like, the worst part of that, for those who don't know, I bought a few things on Amazon, paid for it yesterday, and then noticed they charged me twice. It takes up to 10 working days. The problem there is my tax bill goes out on the 30th. I don't think it'll be in my account on time. Fantastic.
Fuck, I forgot I have to do taxes.
Reminder.
When's tax season start for America? I forget. Somebody tell me in the chat because I'm too lazy.
Well, mine has to be paid by the 31st. So it's a bit
Oh,
it's a bit of an issue.
ours, I think you can pay it until like April.
Yeah. Well, we at the start from the start of the tax year until January 31st. Essentially, that's how long I had to pay it.
Oh, okay.
And this month was the best month for me to pay it. It was good. Yeah. It was,
I think we're either we had just ended the fourth quarter of the economic year.
I think we just started it, haven't we?
No, the last one. Doesn't
Oh.
that? Ugh.
Doesn't matter. You'll work it out. You'll get your taxes
Oh,
done.
I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. The first quarter just ended into the 31st of December. Yeah,
Oh right.
I'm
Well.
stupid. I don't know economy. By the way, in case you guys don't know, I'd never talk about it because I don't fucking know shit about it.
No, I don't either. I just know that
No.
I'm proud that even though people say taxation is theft, this is the first time I've ever paid it, and I'm quite happy that I have done that. Built the business up enough that I can pay taxes. It's a satisfying moment. Next
Yes,
year,
I can imagine.
next year I'm going to complain because they're taking my taxes, but that doesn't matter really. Anyway, as you will notice from the thumbnail, yeah, 7 days till Brexit, everyone. We'll get to that soon, I promise.
Yes, I love that. I read that and all I could think of was 7 Days to Die Brexit edition.
That sounds like so much fun. I'm actually, because next Friday is the 31st of January. At 11 p.m. GMT, we leave the EU. I was thinking, cause unless you're busy, just move the stream back a little. Just a little bit. Just so we can cross that threshold and watch our country burn.
I would actually love that because I actually have to work. So,
Hey! We'll start at 10:30 p.m. GMT next Friday then. How's that?
that's 5:30 my time. Yeah, it's fine.
Sweet. That means we get to watch my country fall apart, and everyone can then start blaming Boris and burning effigies of him, or just a pig with a very scruffy haircut.
I'm happy I've been robbed. Basically, Omega on 2020. What? Oh, taxes.
Thanks.
I was
Regan.
like, wait, what?
Cheers.
What did you
Yeah.
say?
And it's a milestone. It's not so much the tax part. It's the part where I built a business up enough to cross a threshold where I'd have to then start paying taxes.
That's okay. This week
the years
I tried to
before-
adult.
I'm sorry you had to do that, but for the last 4 or 5 years, I was not earning anywhere near it, whereas now I am, and that's brilliant because next year I can moan about it. Are we going to have a Brexit party? It already exists in the European Parliament, so no, Karma. I don't think
I
I'll be able
think
to
he
go.
means like a fiesta of sorts.
That sounds like a lot of effort and fun. I don't really do that.
Yes, I was gonna say. You have to remember, Meg is a anti-fun person.
Yes, I'm so anti-fun. It's
Honestly, we could make that whole weekend a weekend of streams if you wanted to.
I'd have to see what happens, but I'm down for that. I'm up for it. Oh, the
Yeah,
first day after Brexit, what happened? Absolutely fuck all. The economy grew though. Oh my god, Boris is a monster.
mm.
It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun.
I feel like you should stream 7 days now.
And put it on this channel and just call it post-Brexit United Kingdom.
Oh yeah.
That would be
There's just
very.
zombies everywhere.
That'd be
That'd be
funny.
funny.
It'd be very funny because if I did that, for those who are in the chat who don't know this, people I do play 7 days with, invariably would go off and do their own thing. We'd have one guy just stealing everything, not doing anything with it, just stealing it. You'd have one person building a concrete abomination. You'd have another building a literal.
Oh, that's you.
I go underground.
Oh yes, you do go. Yeah. Well, okay, you made a tower
I made a
in one of
concrete
those.
camo cock.
Yeah,
But
and
but
Skog made Mecha.
he made Mecca, yeah, but he also made a fortress monastery. So on a previous server, so and then you have Trups who was never there.
I was. I built a large wooden structure that got ransacked, and then I ran to Skog's house.
You did get absolutely pummeled. I think the smartest home was actually Ed and Joe's.
I thought the one of the smartest homes was actually oh god, Laura,
Oh yeah,
who built it inside the church
God,
with the spike traps at the
I
bottom.
thought you were about to say Quacks. His was everywhere. I'm sorry we've gone right off track, but it was. If I ever did stream that again, which I don't think I ever will, because I can't be bothered. If I ever did, it probably would be just a mock post-Brexit United Kingdom thing, as a one-off. Otherwise, no. We'll get to Brexit, by the way, later. I do actually want to cover a few other little bits first. So, for example, I need to find the image. Where is it? Currently, the Labour Party are going through their little, rather precious election. Current top
Ooh,
runners
I've watched this shit.
are
It's a mess.
Rebecca Long Bailey is number 2 at the moment, and Keir Starmer is number 1. Right.
Who?
Well, Keir Starmer or Rebecca Long Bailey?
How do I spell Kiyostama?
Keir. He is the current shadow Brexit secretary. He's been He's arguably the best person to win if they want a legitimate contender, because Rebecca Long Bailey, even though she has been distancing herself from Jeremy Corbyn, is a Corbynista. She aligns herself heavily with what Jeremy was, spewing for the last 4 years. And the more recent thing for both of them is that obviously Keir's had to put his on hold for a minute because his mother-in-law is really ill. We're not going to go down that path. Rebecca Long Bailey's not catching up though. However, she has got the backing now of a union called Unite. Unite are run by Len McCluskey, this horrible-looking being who, no joke, during the conferences, many will remember him and Rebecca Long Bailey referring to the audience as comrade. You have the backing of basically the same crap that didn't win at the last general election again.
So when you said McCloskey, all I could think of, and you must forgive me because I am a bit of a theater nerd, but all I could think of was Guys and Dolls.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah.
Thankfully, he's not related. But
yeah, because Mrs. McCloskey ain't a good scout.
Yeah. So at the moment, where's the chart? I have the chart. There's the chart. Let's close that image. And this is the current chart. I have Barney on the step blocking it. There we go. Keir Starmer is a current bookmaker favourite of 71% over Long Bailey and Lisa Nandy. Thornbury is... She's got 1%. The bookmakers don't agree with her at all, really. But it's quite interesting, really, that Keir is such a favourite. But because he is not anywhere near as far left as Rebecca, he's been shunned by arguably the biggest of the unions because they're the most highly spoken about, to the point where many believe that they are going to financially back her in a campaign to win the leadership. So, the premise for now, how the leader is selected for the party is that nominees have to be selected by the 7th of January, and the 15th of January nominations have to be obtained from constituency Labour parties and affiliates. Each candidate needs the backing of 10% of MPs, Labour MPs, and MEPs, although that will be redundant soon. And they also need nominations from trade unions or 5% of constituency parties. On February 21st, which is it's a long time for us to dawdle with Boris just not answering questions to Jeremy, the ballots will open. the basic obvious premise is one person is a one vote system. That's it. So basically, Labour Party members, registered and affiliate supporters get a postal vote, and then voters are ranked according to preference, 1, 2, and 3, or 1, 2, 3, 4, depending on how many people are chosen. If there is no overall winner, votes are redistributed and candidates are eliminated until one reaches more than 50% of the vote share. The problem here is, so Labour has gone through a recent surge of new members. That's great. But if the Labour Party still intends to push the path it wants to push, and the message that lost the last general election to the tune of, well, needing 124 seats to have a one-seat majority at the next general election, yeah, you might want to move closer to the centre and not so much further to the left. I'm not against those who are on the left, by the way. I should be clear. If you're on the left, fantastic. I don't really care. I care that a legitimate opponent is presented to face Boris. Not because I want Boris to destroy them, but because I want him to be held to account. And not by somebody who might use, well, a lot of arbitrary policies and factors that clearly don't appeal to the majority to try and guilt them, which is just pathetic. What do you think, Traps?
Well, what's the likelihood that the existing Labour Party members are actually going to go ahead with that? A more moderate approach, because from what I understand, your Labour Party is pretty steadfast in their views.
It's divided, believe it or not. Many have noted the tribalism within many differing views. Some saying they can unite the party. I disagree with that. You would need all the, what are they called?
Checkboxes.
That, but there's something else for it, another name, but I just completely lost it. It was going to be a funny joke. Never mind. It was going to be a chaos. It was going to be a chaos joke. Never mind. He'd need the approval of the gods at least, and they're not going to get it, because each part of Labour, and much like the Conservatives, a lot of them have quite far left views, but some have more moderate views, and some are very moderate. There are obvious levels. Some are Blairites, some are Corbynites, and some are stalagmites.
Either of those are bad choices, aren't they?
Something like that. But the membership is weird, because if you think about it, the number of seats Labour lost, they lost to, well, arguably to more moderate people, because they were the ones that were supposed to be supported by Labour, but Labour was clearly betraying them. So they said, right, well, fuck you then. I'm just going to go over here and vote for this guy until you learn your lesson. But and no offence to Rebecca Long Bailey, but if they choose her, that's not going to show them as moving more moderate. She's trying to distance herself from Corbyn. Sadly, she was in the shadowed cabinet. We've seen what she did and what she believed, what she pushed. And Squidbillies is fantastic. Just saying.
Why do I know that name?
Billies. Wait, what? Squidbillies off his game today. Wait, what?
Well, I'm trying to figure out where I know that word Squidbillies from.
Oh, it's a cartoon.
Ah, okay.
It's a really good cartoon, I might add. Yes, very impressive.
But no, it's very strange, because I've been watching some clips. I know Sargon put up a couple of videos on the Labour vote, and I've been paying attention enough to say that I've been paying attention. But there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of. It kind of looks like our Democratic primary, really. Like, everybody's throwing their hat in the ring, and you might see something.
Yeah.
Maybe. That's about it, though. Like, there's no... Because I believe Jess Phillips went up to try and get the nomination at one point, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and there was a couple other interesting little... tidbits from that adventure that I can't quite put my finger on and can't remember at the moment, but I don't know. I kind of look at your situation over there, and I'm kind of interested to see how it turns out, because nobody would have expected that. Well, maybe they would have, but nobody would have put their money on it. Yeah. That Bernie Sanders would be the leader of the Democratic primary polling right now, for instance. Nobody would have guessed that was going to happen. A lot of people would have hoped that would happen, but it's weird to see it actually happening. Um, so it is kind of a strange
Yeah.
situation, and
So
I'm like tentatively excited for you, but also I'm
I
heavily skeptical.
I want maybe it's possible. I'm not gonna say, obviously I don't want to say Rebecca Long Bailey couldn't be a legitimate candidate or contender, but if she doesn't distance herself horrifically like from what she was originally pushing with Labour in its current form, then she is essentially still pushing Corbyn policies that nobody wanted under the premise, and I think it's a very arrogant one, the belief that the young will continue to just go to them. But that's not how it's going to work. The only way she could beat Boris would be if when we leave the EU, Boris monstrously screws up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that Keir Starmer is equally. I should be on. Okay, so just to rephrase that. That's not to say Keir Starmer would do a good job regardless, but of the four in their current form, he is the better choice. But it'd be interesting to see. I mean, I personally would love Emily Thornberry because it'd be absolutely smashing to see her against Boris. To be honest,
You would say fucking smashing along with that, wouldn't you?
I've literally got a Nigel Thornberry sticker stuck to my computer because I bought it off an
I'm
Etsy
so
shop.
happy for that. That's amazing.
I found it when I did a video on this channel, and I was looking for a Nigel Thornberry PNG of his head so I can stick it on someone.
Yes, I
And
saw the.
I found the badge, and I bought the badge. A girl actually sells them in an Etsy store, and I'm like, I'm having that. She sells stickers as well, so I bought one of those as well.
Oh, that's so amazing.
Oh, so happy with
But
that.
Horny Hippos actually makes a very interesting point. He says the problem with both the Democrats and the Labour Party is their candidates are all awful. They won't win anything with donkeys like those.
I do think Keir Starmer could beat Boris. I think he could. That's not to say he will, but I think he has the best chance.
Mm.
Because he's not, unlike Boris, even Jeremy to an extent, Jeremy was never really good with policy. He was great at obsessing over minor detail. That's not to say the minor detail was bad or was irrelevant, but I do tend to think that if you focus on the key issue instead, and if you don't get the answer, leave it at that, because then he looks like a tool. Instead, move on to other issues, because like a PMQs, for example, you get 6 questions. If you spend all 6 regurgitating the same question, but with more emphasis on humanity, you're not going to look any better. You're going to look like you wasted my time. Because you made him not answer the question once. What makes you think saying it 5 more times in a different way is going to get him to answer the question? And Raydale, I'm glad you liked Coheed and Cambria. I love them.
Oh, and to Patriarch of the Sith, yeah, I've commented on your videos. Happy now? Yes, I am.
Do more, though. You must comment more. And yes, smashing. She is definitely a wild Thornberry. No, she's a Ramona. Which actually, that's an interesting thing. I'm wondering about this. There are many MPs within the Commons that have been dubbed a Ramona. Now this has happened. It's been signed. The Queen will give its royal assent. It will be then official. Because she can't say no, and I don't think she will anyway. Right? The only way it can be stopped is if the European Parliament votes it down. Right? I don't think they will, although if they did, it'd be hilarious. I honestly think it's funny at that point. I might cry. But when that's all voted, it's now done. Do these Ramonas, those that have been dubbed that name anyway, do they now finally switch tune and move on to post-Brexit instead? Because I'm very curious about that.
Well, one of the most interesting questions when it came to this is, what is the youth population of the... Well, let's start with the United Kingdom first, because you mentioned that the Labour is kind of hoping for the youth vote.
Yeah, that's the problem here.
Yeah, in the United States, the Generation Z, the iGen, whatever you want to call them, basically the post-millennials, they're actually much more conservative than the previous generation.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wondering if, like everything else, the UK is mirroring that.
I don't know. I don't spend much time around young people these days. I'm not I'm not
That's
hip
fair.
enough. I'm a bit too
Neither do
old.
I, really.
We do have a large population of older people, because obviously we live a lot longer. But we have a lot of young people that can vote, like 15 to 19. Well, 19, 15, 19. But 20 to 24, 25 to 29, 30 to 34. There's about, according to Statista, about 13 million of them, which is quite large. But then we don't really know we don't know the voting patterns. We won't really know much about the population for sure though until the census is done, which I believe is this year. Or is it next year? I think it's this year. I think it is. But yeah, it'd be interesting. And I think others saying who've mentioned that Keir's too much of the part of the elite. His past as a prosecutor does him no favors, but it does tell me he has a lot of experience working in the law, even if it does include one trial that, quite frankly, was utterly laughable about a Twitter joke about an airport. Seriously. But I've got to give him credit. He's at least known to have that experience. And I it's more entertaining than the deputy leadership thing currently going on, because we only got one candidate that actually has all the votes needed. You got Angela Rayner, who looks like a chav. And then you got Richard Burgon, who's running, who is in the running, but I'll be honest, he's kind of, they're both arguably, they are both Corbynistas. They're both in his shadow cabinet. You know, it should be noted. I should point out, because obviously it'd be intellectually dishonest if I didn't mention it. Rebecca Long Bailey was a solicitor for a while. You know, she wasn't. Yeah, she dealt with like NHS property contracts and stuff like that. So she does have a minor interest in that. So it does make her an interesting candidate, but I still don't think I can't see her winning. I really can't. But I might be the only one that thinks that. I could be wrong. If she does win, then I guess we have to see how she plays it, because to beat Boris, how do you beat Boris? Do you focus on the issue and place your faith in the people to see through the waffle of Boris, or do you try and do you try and attack him for being a waffler or something? You can't really attack policy yet, because the only thing anyone can really hammer him on is the NHS's current record. But he's not been in office long enough for that to really matter. Although it does matter, not at the same time.
I apologize. Do you mind holding the stream for a second?
Sure. Bye.
Yeah. Perfect.
It's fine. So, there were a number of articles I found, most notably one written by Prospect, that believes that based on decades of leadership election results, Labour should pick Keir Starmer, believing that because of historical analysis he would stand a better chance than the others of leading his party to victory. It goes back as far as 1966, when they started then talking about how leaders were chosen, because in the mid-60s the Conservatives didn't really bother. They instead just chose one from the mixture of men in grey suits and Buckingham Palace. Since then, there have been 15 general elections. Of those 15, as many as 12 have been won by the leader who previously enjoyed the biggest winning margin among MPs in their own internal party leadership election. This is how they've derived Keir Starmer, because he took the lead so quickly. So, of the 4 out of 5 of the most generous interpretation of the data in Starmer, there is past experience that suggests that the scale of last year's defeat reduces the chances of a Labour victory next time, which is true. If, for example, this particular source factors into the analysis that each party's prior share of the seats in the Commons alongside the margin the leader enjoys among MPs, then Labour's hopes of winning most seats under Starmer sinks to 50-50. But that still means a better than average chance of forming a government if most third-party MPs continue to be better disposed to Labour than the Conservatives. I will, because I'm that bored, going to quickly archive it and send it to you so you can all read it for yourselves, because I think actually it is rather interesting. It's just a shame my internet's decided to now turn into a potato and Yeah, take its time to sort that out. Moving on from that, I think perhaps I should talk about Brexit. So, the deal's been signed. There are pictures now surfacing everywhere of Boris signing it. Here it is. It looks fantastic, right? Where's the other one? I didn't put it in. Oh. I downloaded the image of the actual contract itself as signed. It more declares it just declares every country's ascension of sorts. And I think that's quite interesting. I think it's a good step in the right direction. The deal will now be voted on in European Parliament next Wednesday. But the result is, and has been defined as, a formality, which I think is a positive. The Prime Minister now believes and hopes that it brings an end to many years of argument and division. It might do that, but history shows us one thing. The Conservatives like to win but can't stay there without fighting themselves. And Labour like to get there with one very popular candidate to then summarily bankrupt us. Because they want to help the young people, forgetting that once they've done that, those young people are no longer young people, and the new young people are now going to have to suffer under the Conservatives again. I may be a bit of a cynic here, but I'm getting quite sick of the repetitive cycle of the Conservatives doing one thing and Labour doing something completely drastic. Going forward, Boris Johnson said in a...
Okay, I'm back.
Oh, hello. That he believes that we can now move forward as one country with a government focused upon delivering better public services, greater opportunity, and unleashing the potential of every corner of our brilliant United Kingdom, while building a strong new relationship with the EU as friends and sovereign equals. I don't like the term sovereign equals. I don't like that. That somehow feels like you're recognising the EU as a country. I don't like that. But yes, that's pretty much it. I do want to actually address something earlier in the chat I saw right at the top when I started. And it was by, I believe, R.W. Bimby. So, as a Texan, I support the Brits' secession from their union. But that means I also support the Irish, Scottish, Welsh right to secede from the UK if they choose. I tend to agree. If Scotland chooses to leave the... if Scotland chooses to, go ahead. Wales, Northern Ireland, go ahead. I wouldn't recommend Northern Ireland do it. That causes a whole plethora of problems. Scotland can try if they want. I don't care. The people, based on a number of polls, actually wouldn't vote to leave anyway. And it's just that sounds like another waste of taxpayers' money to have another general, referendum. And Wales won't because they're too busy fucking sheep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and sucking off leaks. So, yeah. And anyone... if someone gets offended by that, please. So, yes. Thank you. I do agree with you, Bimby. Everyone has a right to, if they so choose to. And if that happens, I don't believe they will. But it'd be very funny to see it happen again. Boris believes that it is a once-in-a-lifetime or generation thing. I think that what Scotland forgets, and I said it in PMQs... the SNP, I should be clear. They said that Scotland's will was being ignored. It wasn't, because you, the nationalist party that are trying to take your country out of the UK, you agreed to partake in a unionist referendum. As a part of that, your votes were equally worth as much as everyone else within the union. And you, because your majority voted to remain, lost. That's as simple as that. You don't then get to fall back and shift the goalpost by saying, yes, but we voted remain. Why are you taking us out? Well, Northern Ireland, I believe, also voted to remain. But you don't see them complaining, you see them getting on with it. Or was it Wales? One of those two voted remain, I can't remember which, but the other one voted leave, I know that. The point is, and it's a very obvious one, you can't take nationalist issues to a unionist level and expect your nationalist issues to take precedent. There are a number of issues, the Sewell Convention. You got a donation from Zombie Spotter. Look, a zombie.
Thank you, Zombie.
Yes, thank you. And I think with with the SNP pushing the way they are, I think another referendum would be fantastic. It'd be a waste of money, but it'd be very funny to watch them lose, because they will. They won't. They won't be able to get away from the UK. I'm sorry, it's not happening. And I think it's right to allow them the opportunity, but I don't think they have a right to now just because Wales voted Remain right. Thank you. But they're just getting on with it as well, so honestly. I think with this, they have to now accept, because we hold precedent, that while you, the party, say you want to leave, there is no definitive proof your country wants to leave. You have SNP MPs in Parliament, not because they're the voices of Scotland, but because they were the better option to the other ones that have betrayed them. Cough, cough, Liberal Democrats, cough, cough, Labour, cough, cough, Conservatives. There were no other Scottish party options. That doesn't mean you have a mandate or represent Scotland, because even in your own Parliament, while you hold a majority, it's not exactly as if you control the whole room. That's wholly rude. It's tragic, honestly. I'm getting triggered by it. I don't think it's right you take a smaller issue to a larger stage and expect your voice to be worth more than everyone else's who represents the rest of the United Kingdom. But if you want to leave, give it 5-10 years and we can and you can have another. Until then, you're going to have to go back to the back of the bus, lick the windows and make sure they sparkle. And drink heavily, I guess. And mooch off the United Kingdom, who keep giving you more and more money because you keep overtaxing, overspending and wasting taxpayers' money on pet projects that have utterly failed. You're an embarrassment. Oh, but our NHS is so good. Yes, you've overspent on the NHS to the point where it looks good, but everything else had to suffer so you could look good once. Congratulations, you won the optics? Retards. I'm done with that. I'm closing these tabs. Oh, hang on, that thing's... Okay, for those in the chat who are curious about the Prospect article I was talking about, I will now put it in the chat for you, and by all means, if you want to read it, go right ahead. It's pretty much it for me, actually. I've got nothing else.
Okay, I apologize for piecing out for a bit there, but do you want to talk about how impeachment's looking in the meantime?
Yeah, I'd love that, actually. Yeah, let's talk about your impeachment. I'm going to put something else out on the screen that was given to me as a gift by a lovely patron. It's basically me as a Space Marine. So carry on.
So, from what I've gathered, there's not a whole lot happening during impeachment that's really interesting, at all worth it.
Right.
Any kind of interesting, and that's kind of a shame, honestly, because they hyped us up so much only to give us nothing. At least so far as I'm concerned. So we're on day 5 of the impeachment trial, and the general opinions that I've heard is that Schiff keeps saying the same things over and over again, and the entire Democratic prosecution is basically quoting them verbatim. The biggest issue with that, of course, is that, well, there's not a whole lot to refute, so how the fuck have we been going on for 5 days?
They're wasting time.
Yeah, it does feel that way, certainly.
What are they wasting it for, though?
That's the question that I don't necessarily have the answer to. Now, technically, this is opening arguments that they're having, but their opening argument just seems to be hammer home the same point until it fucking sticks.
That sounds clever.
It's definitely a tactic. I don't know if it's the tactic.
It's a pretty bad one, to be honest. No lie. I expected better from them.
Yeah.
So I'm a little disappointed.
Now, apparently, there have been plenty of polls in the aggregate for regular Americans that says that 2/3 of Americans believe the Senate should hear from additional witnesses at Trump's impeachment trial. Apparently, that was a ABC News Washington Post poll, so that one's not biased or anything.
Is it ever?
Oh no, of course not. Only only racists think that bias exists like that.
Yep.
Um, Dem softened tone after Nadler dust up. GOP senators say that they have noticed Democrats' stylistic change. I don't know. The Republicans have actually gotten so fucking bored of the impeachment trial that they've literally walked out.
Mm.
And a lot of people have commented on how that's poor form. But, I mean, look, it's hard for me even to talk about it because there's nothing there, man.
The only thing I mentioned it just before the stream that I knew about was that, and it was on Twitter, that Schiff had gotten a little pat on the back from, was it Lindsey Graham, what his name is?
Yeah.
For doing a good job, and yet he wasn't there for most of it.
Mm-hmm.
The only other thing I know that happened of interest in your country, by the way, was that there's a video going around of Prince Charles shaking a load of officials' hands but ignoring Mike Pence's. Even though Mike Pence didn't offer his hand in the first place. And it's a massive... I do apologize for derailing a little. But a lot of people go on about how saying that Prince Charles didn't like Pence. Actually, 3 minutes before that even happened, they were having a conversation and shaking hands. So I don't think they needed to do it again. I thought perhaps that was a bit of a... that's the only other thing I knew about that was happening in your country, by the way.
Well, the only other thing at all that happened this week was the Second Amendment rally went off, and nothing happened, which was fantastic.
There were some rumors, seeds being sown even, and the one that I didn't like, the one that bothered me the most was that, because now it's been said, it's always going to linger, that some people who are Antifa were going to do some shooting, but blame it entirely on the pro-gun people. And the moment that
So I did see that post.
I saw that and I was like, that's just bad. You shouldn't be saying that. You really... I mean, go ahead, but no. That was poor form.
Yeah, but the other thing is, I don't know how reasonable it was. Because because I can't speculate on whether or not some random rumor may have been true, or the source in which that they got the information from might have been incorrect. But I mean, there's so much speculation expected.
Yeah,
that it's not worth going into.
I think it was poor form because it wasn't long before the entire event took place, and then when the event took place, it was like you really had to put that out there, didn't you? It just seemed like an absolute waste of energy to say it, because it went off without, not only without a hitch, but and I obviously told you about this as well, that Ghastly on the is it Alcoholics and Ammo podcast mentioned to me that while that was going on, the current governor of that state was
Northam,
trying
Blackface
to,
Northam.
Is that who he is? Jesus, that is.
Well, okay, so
was trying to increase his term limit.
The argument with that was that he didn't know whether or not he was the one in the blackface or the one in the KKK robes in that picture.
That's hilarious.
And
that actually is.
Neither of those is a good option.
I just think it's just like curiosity, because he hasn't in long been put in, is he, as governor of?
I'm not sure, honestly.
I don't think he's been there that
long.
He's
been around at least for a year, because I made a video about him on the Virginia abortion bill, in which he was the one that basically said the baby would be delivered and then a conversation would be had with the mother to determine whether or not they wanted to keep it. And I was like, what? That's a person already born, dude. That's not even abortion. That's just murder.
Yeah, that's murder. I think the part that really... Yeah, the increasing of the term limit seemed like a way of avoiding, if true, like a way of avoiding any, not culpability, but responsibility for the changes you're trying to enforce. And the gun stuff is absolutely stupid. Stop trying to take people's guns away. You're actually inciting violence at that point.
Well, you're actually the problem is when gun grabs in America get too invasive. You know, the actual idea of, hey, I'm going to basically, let's just say, I'm not saying that this is what the end all thing was, but some people have alleged it, that they were going to ban all semi-automatic weapons, and if you had one, you basically would have to give it up, right? Okay, so if that were the case, then in America you have a culture that believes that they have a fundamental right instilled in them by God to defend themselves. And so, I mean, they don't take it to necessarily the theistic route, but that's the verbiage of, you know, the Bill of Rights.
Mm-hmm.
Is that they're inalienable rights given to you by God, and the idea basically being that self-defense is something that is allowed by being a human. A human being is allowed to defend oneself.
Okay.
So if they were to try and push the oh, there's $1 donation.
Oh yes, sorry, I did notice. Sorry, I didn't look.
That's for
Thank you to whoever that was. It was very generous of you.
Dick Gorbinza.
Thank you. I very much appreciate that.
So yeah. So if you start trying to take people's like guns away in that sense, people will defend it, and people will do it violently if need be. They don't want to, but they will. If you just push enough buttons, you're gonna get something that you don't want. And really, that's kind of the issue, because they're willing to call that bluff. Amber B says state constitution is more pro Second Amendment than the U.S. Constitution. It is. The fact that a state of emergency in the Virginia Constitution is legally not allowed to prevent one from carrying a weapon on state grounds, even in a state of emergency. Well, that pretty much will tell you everything you need to know about the state of that of that state. Now, I do think personally that yeah, just don't try and take people's guns in America. You may find that people will go to extreme lengths to defend something that apparently you don't care for, but that they care for quite a bit.
Do you think this governor will succeed in his mission?
Absolutely not.
And what makes you so sure of that?
The fact that police were at the Second Amendment rally and said that we will not strip people of their rights basically would tell you that he has no enforcement power.
Ah, that's not good then, is it?
Oh, it's great actually. It's not great for him,
That's what I
but
meant.
basically you're playing the people against the government, and the government is without a arm. There's no force behind them. Maybe you call in the National Guard, but even the National Guard probably isn't going to do shit.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure they even made a comment like under their breath about how they would not strip Virginians of their rights. Now, a lot of people, Democrats actually, according to some people who viewed the aftermaths and watched a bunch of CNN and MSNBC, because I only watched clips, they watched the whole context. Apparently, they seemed a little upset that it ended peacefully. Can't imagine why.
No, I can't either. It's a total mystery.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, a lot of these things nowadays just appear to be total mysteries.
The Senate passed a red flag law yesterday, Traps.
Yeah, that's fine.
What's that?
Red flag laws are BS.
Okay.
Red flag laws are essentially ways in which the government can arbitrarily assign you a danger to the public.
Okay.
and basically say that you can't have a gun because you once took Adderall or you saw a therapist. Now, of course, that's an exaggeration of the idea, but basically, it's if you've ever made a comment that is deemed violent online, you're a potential terrorist threat, you're ever on the no-fly list, anything like that. These are red flag laws.
Okay.
And these would be things that prevent a human being from owning a firearm in the United States. A lot of people have noticed how far reaching these red flag laws go and how vague they're written, which unfortunately allows for
Allows for.
trials to be held and a law to be interpreted by a judge pretty liberally.
Hmm.
In the chat, somebody says the AG has said that he will go after the sheriffs who refuse to enforce. Yeah, with what cop? What cop is he gonna use to arrest the sheriff? That's where things get interesting.
Okay.
Who you gonna call if the guys you usually call to do a job don't want to do it? I mean, you're swiftly approaching anarchy, because basically they don't want to listen to that governor. The governor is full of shit. So you either play the game of the constituents, or, well, you may not have a state anymore, because, like we had talked about earlier, West Virginia has basically extended, an offer to any state that wants to come over to West Virginia. Of the 100 or so counties that have already said, fuck you, Governor Northam, and West Virginia's like, yeah, come on, we'll take you.
Hmm. I
I'm
think
interested.
yeah. I think West go if unless you're. I mean, if you want to stay and fight, go for it. But there is an option out if.
Well, the
You're
bigger question is like, okay, so if you fight, what then?
Yeah. Okay, that's a fair point.
The problem is with the again with the speculation of Virginia is we could assume that the people would end up rising up against the government and forming militias and going out full revolution, but that's unlikely, because even President Trump has said that what Virginia is doing is completely unlawful,
Yeah.
as per their own constitution. Um, he likes to tweet these little things. So impaired will be redefined as Trump supporters. Yeah, you could say that. You could argue that at least they would, because you are a mentally unwell is the rule there. Yeah, I mean this. I mean you kind of laugh, but this is the stupidity that we exist around.
It's yeah. Bit of a mess, really, isn't it?
Unfortunately,
Okay.
I wish I could just say that there was a very clean way to handle this.
Mm-hmm.
The AG can name replacements for those. LEOs partly faithful. Yeah, but then you have a literal coup, and the rest of the U.S. probably won't tolerate a state's coup on itself. In fact, I believe there's actually a provision that allows for the federal government, in the case of instability in the government of a certain state, to take over. With I believe it's a there's some provision that allows that. I don't forget which one. It's a long fucking document to go through all of the laws that we have for federal and states' rights things. There's a lot of different considerations because a lot of Supreme Court decisions have ended up extending a lot of federal power to the states,
Right.
from the states. Sorry. So with the Interstate Commerce Clause, they basically have said that anything that has to do with interstate commerce is in fact owned and operated by the federal government and subject to their laws, which ends up causing a bit of issues. And actually, that's why a lot of people have been arrested for weed things, even though if in the state that it happened in, they actually were legally allowed to use marijuana. Yeah, so basically, there you could find a whole lot of things to go through. Nope, the military does though. Oh yeah, there you go. If Northam doesn't care about his constitution, he sure as shit doesn't care about the Geneva Accords. I live in Virginia. Trust me, the AG is a dangerous mofo. My brother lives in Virginia. He's a second. He works for the Second Amendment advocacy groups.
Really?
Oh yeah,
That's pretty cool.
he used to do a lot of pro bono law work when he was in school. So he worked underneath his professors and basically built campaigns for them, did their events and whatnot.
That's pretty awesome, that is.
Trups is boring me, dude. Same. I hate the news. If you ever wanted to like tell me like something crazy happens, like what this background picture is, that's cool.
Yeah, it was a gift from a patron. He actually went and got
fucking
he commissioned someone to do it for me as a gift.
And also, what even is that comment?
Which one?
Sorry, Trups was boring me.
Oh right, that's Saki.
Like, oh, by the way,
it's Saki. Ignore it.
Saki, can we keep a name?
The chapter is the Black Templars. Yeah, because I was asked what my favourite chapter was, and I said the Black Templars before they were commercialised. Made really popular, and yeah. So yes, very generous gift. I'm very grateful for it. I think, are we done, by the way? I don't know if we got any more stories. So. I can't think of anything.
We don't have anything else. I hate to say it, but we don't have a whole lot.
No, the weird thing is the Senate hearing stuff could have been a huge chunk of this stream. However, there just wasn't anything going on.
Mm-hmm.
Even Twitter was dead on it. It was just, oh, except for SoFame, but that's it.
I imagine a lot of people actually went on vacation this week because literally nothing happened.
You know,
I find it hard. I find it hard to believe that no one was talking about anything.
The guy who gives me work, he was on vacation. I've been covering it all week. I am so tired.
Yes.
I'm so tired.
I apologize.
It's not your fault. Although at least I get some money, I guess, out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, do you have anything to shill?
No, I do not, but I will resume the usual starting next week.
Okay. Well, I don't either. I'm going to take the weekend off and do Meg things. So thank you all very much. Yes, those things. Thank you very much for joining and for the very generous donations. If you haven't already, please smash like, because it really helps. I'm now going to go do sleep stuff, and Trups is probably going to do drink stuff. So
yay!
Say good night, Trups.
Good night, Trups.
Good night, Trups.